Hey everybody, this is Ryan McClanahan with historythroughcards.com. Hope you're all doing very well today. So I picked up a card that has a lot of really great memories for me as a kid, and I could never get my hands on a copy because of what it said. And it happens to be the 1989 Flair Billy Ripken Bleep Face bat card, or the F Face bat. And this card obviously it brings back a lot of memories. I grew up in the 1980s and the early 90s, and so when I was collecting at the time, this thing was hot as sliced bread. If sliced bread was hot at all, I don't know. Anyway, um, this thing was something that I always heard about, and at the time, it caused so much commotion that moms are like pulling their hair out. They're like, "Oh no, my Jimmy doesn't have that card," or like, "I don't want that card. Like don't bring that card in the house." Like it was like dog shit or something, right? So you know. Um, I always heard somebody who had this card, or a friend of a friend of a friend who knew somebody who had this card, and it was also going for $200 as well, as from what I've heard. I never really saw this card growing up, but I saw it years and years later. I could still never get my hands on a copy, and yeah, being juvenile as I am, I was like, yes, this is cool, and I was going through a box of cards at a show last year, and this card came up, and I was like, okay, let's put on my thinking hat here for a minute. How much is this card going to cost me? And so I kind of like slyly like showed the guy the card, and I'm like, so by the way, how much do you really want for this card? Thinking like, oh, if I can get this card for like, I don't know, 70, $60, that'd be great. He's like, $35. And I was like, it's mine. Yes, thank you so much. Greatly appreciate it. And for me, it brought home a lot of great memories, and it still does. I found a couple of articles that I want to share with you guys today about this particular card when it was first found. Again, I'm not entirely convinced that Flair didn't know what was on the card because you can see the F face from a mile away. You'd have to be blind not to see that, but it caused a lot of commotion, and I actually kind of wondered too if Flair really did want that to be issued because it brought a lot of interest to the hobby and a lot of talk and a lot of money as well. So the more money people are pouring into the hobby, and the better Flair was, right? And they're competing with Tops, which and Don Russ too, by the way. But in like 1989, 1990, Don Russ, their design was not too good. This was a very interesting design, I have to say, from Flair from 1989, and Flair was getting better with their design back then. But that's not really why I wanted the card. I wanted it because it said F face, right? So me being a juvenile bastard as I was back then, I still find it kind of funny. I really do. I think it's a riot. And then obviously Billy Ripken, he's not really known for much, unfortunately, being Cal Ripken Jr.'s brother. And I love Cal Ripken Jr. I always did. I watched a lot of Cal Ripken Jr. Beating the crap out of the Red Sox, and so I've always been a Cal Ripken Jr. fan. But this card just brought so much notoriety to not only Billy Ripken, but to the hobby and to Flair back then. And just kind of reading over these articles brought back a lot of great memories that I want to share with you guys today. So here we go. This is from the Californian, February 9th, 1989, Salinas, California. The Making of a Legend, four-letter word makes Ripken famous, by George Watkins. Regardless of what kind of season Billy Ripken has this year for the Baltimore Orioles, his baseball card will probably never be as popular as it is now, due to an unusual set of circumstances a 1989 Flair baseball card of Billy Ripken is worth more today than such high-priced rookie cards of Jose Canseco and Mark McGwire. In fact, Canseco and McGwire cards combined can't equal what collectors have been paying in recent days for a Flair card of Billy Ripken. Here's the catch. What makes Ripken's card unique is a four-letter obscenity printed underneath the knob of the bat handle that somehow slipped through undetected by Flair officials. Being a family newspaper, we won't publish what Flair inadvertently did, but be warned, parental discretion is advised. Flair released the Ripken card along with the rest of its 1989 set in late January. Since then, it's been the hottest selling item in the card market. Saul Duran, a local collector, recently sold three Billy Ripken cards for $100 each. They were recently commanding as high as $200 a piece on the East Coast. In recent days, the price has decreased substantially. Some have been sold as low as $30 to $40. But keep in mind, under normal circumstances, this card would have been worth about a nickel. Duran, who works at Keeper of the Games, a Salinas baseball card and comic book store, said he wouldn't pay more than $30 for a Ripken card now. He feels that once the publicity dies, so will the value of the card. By the end of the season, no one will know who Billy Ripken is, Duran predicted. Until now, hardly anyone knew or cared who Billy Ripken was. That's sad. Oh, I hate to laugh. His was commonly known as the brother of Oriole shortstop Cal Ripken Jr., but because of the alarming error, Billy Ripken has achieved celebrity status, at least among collectors. Ripken has gone so far as to hold a press conference to try to clear up the matter. He made a statement that he was very embarrassed and was sorry to be associated with it. Bob Miller, public relations director of the Orioles, said Flair officials refused to return calls. Even the Orioles weren't given an adequate reply. We asked for an explanation, but they really didn't have one, Miller said. Flair has since recalled its 1989 cards. In some cases, company representatives have been told to go into retail stores and take them off the shelf, but thousands have made it into the market, and others are expected to turn up in boxes of Flair still in stock. A box of Flair 540 cards that normally sells for $30 is now priced at $70 because of the Ripken rage. But the question lingers, how did it happen? Billy's kind of a prankster, Miller said, which means he may have been the target of someone trying to retaliate. From what we understand, Miller explained, the Flair photographer showed up kind of unexpectedly and said he was in a hurry. Someone threw Billy a bat. He just grabbed it and used it to pose. The rest is history. I couldn't believe it when I saw it, Miller said. I don't know how something like that could get by. Duran said he is still receiving inquiries about the Ripken card, but not as many as 3 weeks ago. For a while, about every other call was about the Ripken card, he said. Kids have asked about the Ripken card, but they seem to take a mature attitude about the whole thing, according to Duran. A lot of kids ask about it, he said, but they don't laugh or anything when they see the word. They just want it for their collection. This is from the Record Searchlight, May 29th, 2011, Redding, California. Real mystery perpetuation of the obscenity myth. Did he or didn't he? Apparently, even Billy Ripken doesn't know, and it's his card and his bat that holds an exalted, albeit tainted, spot in the history of baseball cards. When Major League Baseball Network produced Cardboard Treasure, a 1 hour special honoring the 60th anniversary of Topps baseball cards, host Greg Armsinger, who proclaimed to be a card collector, chatted with Billy Ripken, one of the station's studio analysts, about Ripken's 1989 Flair card. You know, the one with the obscenity on the bat handle. On the show, it went like this after Armsinger asked how it got on the bat. I don't know. Pause. Some of these things are just mysteries to me. Mysteries to you, Armsinger responds. Then Ripken grabs a bat from the studio bat rack and shows off the handles with the words, "Wasn't me" on the end. You can see here Billy denying anything he had to do with the infamous baseball card, the '89 Flair. Then Armsinger goes on to talk about the other error cards, none as famous as Ripken's. The only problem with all this is that CNBC baseball business reporter Darren Rovell reported in a December 2008 blog that Ripken had finally come clean about the card. To be sure, the Babe asked Rovell if he stood behind the story. It was straight from his mouth, was his response. The Babe tried to interview Ripken, singer, or a show producer about the PR folks at Major League Baseball Network. In the end, Major League Baseball Network brushed it off with a spokesperson, Lorraine Fisher, saying, "Yes, what Billy said in the interview with Darren is accurate." The segment in Cardboard Treasure was meant to make light of the situation so many years later. I reviewed my recording of the show. There's nothing to indicate it was a spoof. They weren't making light of anything. Armsinger asked Ripken if he used the bat for the card photo, knowing what was on the knob. Ripken was deadly serious when he said he wouldn't do something like that if it was all a joke. Why was Ripken defending himself? I wonder how Armsinger feels now that he's been Ripken's straight man a la Bud Abbott to Lou Costello. It was supposed to be a documentary and not, as they say, a made for TV show based on a true story. Maybe the most telling image is a quick flashback to the knob of the bat Ripken was holding. Instead of "It wasn't me," the silver writing on the back tape now says "Sorry." Hmm, what was he sorry for? In Ravel's interview, Ripken admitted that he wrote the words on the bat. He said he received a bad batch of bats and decided to use them for batting practice. He was in a hurry, so he inked the famous phrase so he would know for sure the bat wasn't a gamer. Ripken has always claimed that Flair was duplicitous in the release, saying proofers should have caught the error. Ripken maintains, and most folks tend to agree, that Flair quote unquote missed the naughty word on purpose to generate publicity and interest. There's little doubt that all that happened. Heck, we're talking about the card 22 years later. Other than the card, the only reason we're still talking about Ripken is because he's on national TV. After all, he's hit 247 in 12-year career with 4 teams. However, you don't hang around the majors for 12 seasons just because your name is Ripken, but having that name probably doesn't hurt when you're looking for a gig as a studio analyst. To be fair, he finished with a 987 fielding average, 10 percentage points better than his Hall of Fame brother. So I thought that was really interesting. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this particular card and maybe even Bill Ripken. I don't remember Bill Ripken as a collector or when I was watching baseball when I was a kid. I do remember his brother, and I collected a lot of Cal Ripken Jr.'s cards back in the day. And I do have a another video on Cal Ripken Jr. that I'm gonna touch up on later on at some point about his 1982 tops traded. But this card, I think, is it's notorious. I think that it's still very popular and still very much in the minds of collectors today. It is a part of my childhood and my memories, which is one of the reasons why I wanted the card. And I would love to hear what you guys have to say about it. If you guys uh, ever owned this particular card, and how did that come across? I would love to hear it. Again, for me, it took it took decades to try to find a copy of this stupid thing, but I really love it. I really do. It just brings back so many great memories, and I think that's one of the reasons why we collect cards to begin with, because they are a part of our childhood, and they are specific memories to us. Um, Obviously, I collect a lot of vintage cards, as you guys can see in the back. These are not memories for me. Actually, and that's not really true. I remember when I bought them and who I was with and my surroundings, so maybe that is a memory. And again, I love going to card shows and forming new memories with people and talking to them and seeing what they have in their collection and how they got their cards and the ball players obviously. But I would love to hear what you guys have to say about Billy Ripken and this particular card. It is. It is still very popular, and I think it's going to remain popular for years and years to come. So, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. I greatly appreciate it as always. Give me a like and subscribe so more of my videos can go out to the unsuspecting population. Anyway, guys, I will talk to you later and have a good one. Bye.